Good afternoon, everyone. Today is July 28th. This is NuPath's virtual town hall. This is the time each week that we dedicate to sharing of information, trying to make sure that everybody is on the same page and that we're keeping you all up to speed on some of the new developments. We've been talking a lot lately about the reopening of our day programs, which is something that is proven to be challenging on many levels. In a little while, I'm going to bring Dan Lannon on to give us any updates around developments in that regard. We're also going to sample a kind of a really cool, well, I mean, for something that was just thrown together, I think is really a well done video that James Matt Johnson and Elder Soares put together, kind of walking people through what the space here at our home office is going to look like, how it's going to be different, access to the doors that people are to use, and so forth. So we're going to take a look at that in a couple of minutes. But first, I think it's important that I try to get us to kind of focus in on what this pandemic means to us here in Massachusetts, because after all, this is the environment that we're living in, and our success in as an organization in opening our day programs, but also as a populace in returning to our jobs and to regular routines and rhythms, are going to be so dependent on our ability to manage over the next few months until we are able to have a vaccine that will hopefully protect us from this just devastating situation, the pandemic. But let's talk very quickly. I'm going to have Greg pull up a couple of slides to help us just focus on where we stand now in the way of cases and deaths. So in Massachusetts, we have now 116,000 confirmed cases, and we are now at 8,536 deaths. That's up 103 from this time last week. And a week ago, we had seen an increase of 65. So does that mean that we're on a slight increase? We may be. United States, we are now hovering around 151,000 people dead because of this. That's an increase of 7,968 from this time last week. The previous week saw an increase of 4,674. So just in this short sample, it definitely does not seem to be going in the right direction. And globally, we are now at 654,000 dead. That's up from 43,000. It's just so many lives. I just don't even know how to imagine all those people that are now without life because of this pandemic. And I think that we just have to keep this at the forefront of our minds, even as we accept the risk of returning back into some of our routines and rhythms. As we've discussed in the past, Massachusetts tracks a number of different things, data points that are helping us understand whether or not it's safe to remain in this phase. As we've said, there's been 108,562 confirmed cases in Massachusetts, but I just wanted to show the decline that since April or so, when we had a real big spike, that we've seen the numbers go in the right way. Same is true of the deaths that are attributed to COVID-19, and we're seeing that continuous decline. Hospitalizations is another thing that is looked at carefully, and this includes our surge capacity beds, the critical care beds, and overall hospital capacity, and we're seeing the need of hospitals and the hospitalizations declining. So all of those things point to a positive direction, as well as the number of tests that have been administered. And we know that we're going to have to make testing some sort of our regular life. We're I think, moving towards some sort of a reality where we will be seeing much more regularity of testing. That's now, we've tested over 1.1 million people in Massachusetts since this began in March. And we are now, we talked about our positivity rate. That's the number of positive cases that are recognized. So for every 100 cases, people tested in Massachusetts, 2.7 of them will be positive. That's down from, at one point, we were close to 30% back in April. So that's been a huge improvement. Compare that to the United States, our 2.7 to the 8.2. That is the average positivity rate in the United States. And I thought it would be worth taking a peek at how Massachusetts ranks with some of the other states. So incidentally, at 2.7 positivity rate, Massachusetts is number 10 of all the states in the low numbers, followed by Alaska at number 9 at 2.5, Michigan at 2.5, Washington, D.C. at 2.3, New Hampshire 2.3, New Jersey 1.6, Connecticut 1.1, New York 1.1, Maine 0.7, and Vermont 0.6. So take a look at some of these states here, because if you still are hoping to have some sort of a summer vacation, I would recommend Vermont because only 0.6 of every 100 people tested there will be positive, and it makes a big difference in the population. So if those are the top 10, we're really quickly going to take a look at the bottom, and these are the places you do not want to go on vacation. So the worst state at this point in time for the number of cases would be Mississippi, and they are at 24. So out of every 100 people tested, 24 of them will be positive. That is, it's just so bad. I mean, we were there in April, so we know what it's like. But Arizona is the next one at 22%, Florida 19%, Alabama 19%, Idaho 16%, Kansas 16%, South Carolina 16%, Nevada 15%, Georgia 14%, Missouri 14%, and Texas 12%. So look at these states, and those are just the bottom 10. So there are many other states that we talked last week about that bruised red color. Those are the states that are the pandemic is just virtually out of control, and pretty much the entire country is in rough shape except for pockets of Michigan and DC, and then up into the Northeast. So we're glad to be living in these parts, but that could flip pretty quickly. Summer vacation. I mentioned if you were still of the mind that you hope to be getting out, I think summer vacation is going to look quite a bit different for us all if we are still. And now we're almost into August, but if August is typically one of the most popular months for people to take time off. And even though many of us have been working remotely, I'm back in my office for the most part now, but it does wear on you. And I think just the emotional anxiety and the concern and just everything being so sort of uncertain in so many ways, there could be very strong cases made for getting away and trying to recharge and to seek renewal. And there was an ADDP call this morning, and there was some conversations about the kinds of policies that different organizations have chosen to adopt when staff are leaving to go to some other destination for some time away, and whether or not they need to be quarantined when they return. How long should they be quarantined? Is it the responsibility of the organization to pay for the time spent in quarantine? And really, we're still trying to figure some of that stuff out. But we are really hoping that people use their best judgment. And if if you have any question about whether or not the destination that you're choosing to go to is a good one, there are numerous resources online that, including mass.gov, that can be used in determining whether or not COVID is a major threat, or if it's under control in the place where you hope to go. You know, we've heard it said many times over that we're alone together, or whatever that expression is. We're in this together, and it's incumbent upon all of us to do whatever we can to stop the spread, to really contain it until we can get some medical intervention that hopefully will move us beyond this, what has been, you know, the terrible experience of a lifetime for many of us. And I've said before, there is not a thing on earth or in any part of my career that really could ever have prepared me for the experience that this has put upon this organization, from a planning and sort of even from a governance perspective, from a financial perspective, just managing the challenges that so many staff are experiencing, and so many of our families and our clients that are home, and in many cases not with their networks and their friends and their communities. And it's really and it's been a tough time, I know, for many people. But NuPath is responding to the greatest extent possible, doing everything that we can. I mentioned this back to work video, I guess you'd call it, a reorientation. It's something that I can take no credit for, but when I watched it, I was just so impressed that it for something that was you know, produced on no budget. I mean, we're talking the staff just filmed it and did it without any kind of, you know, major planning or direction, or certainly with no professional assistance. I just thought it was terrific, and it made me very proud of the staff that had gone to that level of additional support for families. And I know that many of the families have been included in seeing this video. Elder was telling me this morning that it's been part of our some of our virtual offerings, as different people are beginning the process of thinking about what their life is going to look like and how it's going to be different during the day once they return to NuPath. So I wonder if Greg could show us that video now and pull that up, and then we'll come back and begin landing on to see if there's anything that additional developments that we need to be aware of. All right.
Hi everybody, I'm James Sannon, Director of Day Services, and I'm here to walk you through the reopening process. I want you to know what to expect when you come to NuPath when we reopen. So the first thing I'm going to show you is, if you're a program participant, what the expectation is. When you arrive to NuPath, always make sure that you have your mask.
You can step on over. I'm going to be taking your temperature.
Okay.
97.5, terrific. At this point, I'm going to be logging the information. So James checked out. He reported no symptoms. So we got the date, the time, the temperature reading, and any comments that we may have that might have come up in our conversation with James. And at this point, I'm going to ask James to use some hand sanitizer.
So as an employee, I would come in, take my own temperature with the touchless thermometer, excuse me. And you put it close to your forehead, hold the button. Once you hear that beep, it's ready. 98.6, perfect. You would then log in the date, the time, your name.
I'm going to take you down the hallway, and you'll see, as James pointed out, there are arrows for directions for the flow of traffic. We have arrows in a large hallway on both sides. We're always going to stay to the right-hand side. You'll see that some spaces have arrows that run in one direction. This is because the hallway is too narrow, and we're gonna allow traffic to flow in one direction. We're gonna continue to be social distanced, and we'll let people go through and then enter on our own.
Again, so we're gonna focus on, things like doorknobs, door handles, chairs, anything that gets high touch use. But as you can see with this sprayer, it targets a wide range of area, so a lot of things will be covered as we're spraying around.
Hi everybody, Brian Calman, Director of Day Services here at NuPath in Westford. And we're going to talk about the reopening procedures and how it's going to look when we reopen the program for services. Stephanie Cormier is the program coordinator, and she's going to perform the check-in procedure with me now.
Hi everybody, when you get here we'll be taking your temperature. We will be recording your temperature here. We will all be using hand sanitizer. We have extra masks available. We have cleaner to clean everything down, and we have alcohol wipes to clean down the thermometer as well.
We'll see different spots where the seating is socially distant, but also there so people have places to go. We talked about the arrows on the floor. This hallway has arrows going in one direction. This is the direction of flow for this hallway. You'll also notice hand sanitizing stations throughout the building.
All right, well, that gave you just a sampling of what you can expect to see. The full videos can be found on our website, and they are available to anybody who wishes to see for those two locations. And I believe Elder this morning, when he stopped by my office, said that they were on their way over to do one for the Martin Center. So we completed. That will be all three of our day services locations. So that is another feature that we hope will be useful to families as people prepare to return to the day program. I'm gonna have Greg pull Dan Lannon, ask Dan Lannon to join us, and see if he can give us an update on any changes or further developments since a week ago when we talked. Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know it's a team effort, but your crew really impressed me with how the thought that they put into the videos that I saw, and I just wanted to, commend every step of the way to thinking and the planning for the return of people to this space. It's just been extraordinary, and I know Ted Horn has a lot to do with that, and has really been leading that. But so many people have come together to make the planning for this as successful as possible, and I've been especially pleased to see the level of the cleaning that's been happening, and I was a little worried when we talked about this intensive cleaning. I thought, oh, are they really going to be doing? Is it really going to be intensive? And when I see some of the new, those backpacks and some other things that they've incorporated into their routines, it gives me a lot of confidence to know that we're going to be doing the best we can to kind of contain this thing. But why don't you give us an update if there is one? And tell us kind of where things are now.
Sure. I guess, just to expand on that, the team, they really have done an amazing job from you mentioned Ted, but from James and Sharon, Elder, all of them, Brian, Justin, everyone's just been amazing. And, this is one of those things that I think is, at least in my experience of being with NuPath, has always made it a special place, is that, that ideas and suggestions and decisions about how protocols are going to be, you can have a real impact in making those suggestions and making things be different, because certainly a lot of these ideas would not just come from one person or one group. And when people have ideas and suggestions, we're able to incorporate those quickly, because I think the directors and the managers that work with them, they all know their populations and the individuals that come to the programs better and what's going to work for them and speak to them. And so, yeah, so I think that's just they've done an outstanding job and gone above and beyond. So, as far as any changes, I think everyone, we're continuing on the track where we were the last Tuesday when we talked. We are planning to open August 3rd. August 3rd would be our first day of opening at New Boston Street. And on August 3rd, it would be for those families that can drop their son or daughter off into the program. And so, and if you're one of those families that have responded that is what you'd like to do, we're submitting your name to DDS so that they know. We have submitted a plan to Mass Health, alerting them that August 3rd is going to be our goal date for New Boston Street, with the other programs to fall after. And so, yeah, so unless we hear anything that does not allow us to go forward with that date, then that is going to be our plan, to open New Boston Street for those whose families can get them there as of August 3rd, to have our residential homes start back into that program August 4th, and then to open Westford August 5th, and then the same the next day, have our residential program start joining them August 6th. So. So next week, I think will be, a busy week, but I know we have a lot of staffing supports in place, and there's a lot of planning has gone into it. And so certainly, hopefully it will go off, without a hitch, or we're at least prepared for some hitches. We did have a number of people that live at our residential homes decide to opt out of returning back to the programs. And so we will be working with those families and those individuals to honor their wishes and not have them return back to program at least next week or on day one. I know the conversation was with a few of them. They wanted to see how it went first for some. And so, I think everyone's, still at a different spot. And so we just got to move forward with a plan that we think keeps everybody the safest. And so.
Well, last Tuesday night we had our first kind of gathering on site, or meeting, I should say. It was a committee of the board, the finance committee, and for the past 4 months we've been meeting virtually, and we wanted to try to see what it would be like to bring people back. And I got to thank the members of the finance committee, because they were kind of our guinea pigs. But we met outside. Under the canopy or the tent that's out there now in the back, and it was great. The tables were set up so that people were all at least 6 to 10 feet apart, and we had some powerful fans in there, so it wasn't too hot. And it was what you just said about people are coming from different perspectives. So at least a couple of them said that experience was the first for them, it was the first that they'd been back in any sort of work environment at all. And people were, they were at least wary, it's, that feeling of, maybe being caught like a deer in headlights, or all of a sudden realize you're lost someplace or something. It was just it felt strange, to be together, but it was so nice to see people. I mean, it was so great to just see face to face some of these servants of the organization that have just dedicated so much of their lives to, or the recent lives to the mission and the business of NuPath. And we're going to do this again on the 4th, August 4th, which is a Tuesday. We're going to be having a kind of a board meeting in the back. And so this is something that we're all, wading into gradually. And you said that, well, one way or another, you said that we're going to be kind of trying to work out the kinks, and we're likely to have some things not go exactly, as smoothly as perhaps we'd like. We're pretty good at what we do on a daily basis under normal circumstances. You throw in a pandemic and social distancing and insisting that everybody wears masks. I still get up out of my chair and I walk down the hallway to go to the restroom. I can't tell you how many times I walk out here without my mask. I mean, it's not, And yesterday I had to get to the grocery store. I stopped. I walked almost all the way up, and I realized I didn't have it. Sometimes it's just not, at the forefront of my mind, but it's going to be kind of retraining ourselves to think about how we even maneuver through the building, and what directions we walk, down certain stairs or down certain hallways. And it's going to take a lot of patience and just tenacity to make this happen. We recognize that there are so many benefits to getting people back into some normal routine, for our clients, many of whom really depend upon having some consistent routine and knowing what to expect and how to plan for each day or each part of the day. And so we know that this is going to be an improvement for most of them, and hopefully a relief for families that are trying to figure out how to themselves get back to work. But we're certain there'll be some glitches, and there'll be some things that maybe don't go exactly the way we'd hoped the first couple of weeks. But I'm certain, just given the level of investment that has been made in this reopening plan from the team here, that we'll dedicate whatever resources necessary to trying to solve any problem or work out any sort of glitch as it comes along. What do you think? I'm getting ready to ask you a question. I didn't tell you I was. Do you think we're going to be able to get back more than how many people do you think we'll be able to get back at any of these locations, if you had to guess, until we can figure out something with transportation? Because transportation is really the big sticking point, isn't it, Dan, for so many people that they're not able to bring the transportation for themselves, and yet how do you social distance in a vehicle that's going to be safe?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly Westford and New Boston Street, the families that are bringing their son or daughter in starting next week on the 3rd, the numbers are extremely low. It's 20 for New Boston Street, or around 20 for New Boston Street, and it's a little lower for Westford. It's probably around 15 to 20. And then, once we do know there are solutions for transportation, then, we'll have to work within those solutions to then reach out to the families who weren't able to do transportation and see, what routes can be developed. And then also I think that third phase that the state is approaching is then those individuals that are living at group homes, can they get into the program? And so and we know from the ADP provider community that some residential agencies are willing to sign up for transportation and bring people to the program. And then there's some residential programs that are not willing to make that extra effort. And so I do think the transportation is going to certainly never really get us to a point to where we're reaching the maximum capacity that we could be able to handle with the 113 square feet that the state is said to have for each individual, and the 6 feet distant rule. And so I don't anticipate this year getting to a breaking point to where that's a concern. Unless there was this major breakthrough with a vaccine and having it all readily available to us all, or having a solution for transportation. But both of those things seem highly unlikely. So. I should mention, and I don't think I mentioned this, but I know we mentioned it before. We will still continue the remote learning schedule. So that schedule will still be posted weekly, updated, and the classes will continue to be made fresh and updated regularly. So so we'll be committed to those services. And many families have asked us if we would provide in-home services to the son or daughter if they're not able to drive them in, or if they don't feel comfortable with them returning to the program. Can we send staff into that? And we're still really seeking some more clarification and guidance on that. I think the answer right now that the state is giving us is no, we can't do that. And I think what we're the approach we've taken is to just wait to see what the guidance is and the funding stream is, and then work within that, that context to present a plan that might allow us to do that. So,
I wonder if it's the kind of thing that once we have the first sort of cohort of people return, And, you know, if things continue to move in the right direction, at least in Massachusetts and New England, and we continue to see low levels of positive test cases, and the numbers of deaths due to COVID continue to maybe reflect more of what we saw last week. It was only a 65, increase of 65 deaths from the previous week. If we see lower levels of that, I have a feeling, some people who were maybe a little resistant at first might, kind of agree that to maybe a second cohort of people that could come in, but I do think that until we have a vaccine, we're going to be really challenged, because or until we can get some sort of a rapid response test that's reliable, that's made available, en masse to the population, because while we're taking people's temperatures upon entry, and recording everybody who enters, that's part of our contact tracing commitment. It's not 100% certain that you might not have COVID and not really know it yet, and it's so contagious that by the time you maybe do get a fever, there's just still so much that seems to be that we're figuring out, or I guess the scientists and the medical community are learning about COVID. But the other thing is, and we're going to talk more about this either on Thursday. I'm trying to work out the final list of panelists, because I'm trying to bring an epidemiologist on to talk to us a little bit about the whole nature of the vaccine, and maybe to help us get thinking about how we're going to be when that time comes. What can we do to begin to prepare ourselves? Because there's some concerns that I've been reading that that there's likely to be some general distrust of maybe the first generation of vaccine that is made available to the general population when it first becomes available. And I was reading or heard someplace that there's a concern that maybe only 50% of the United States population will agree to be vaccinated during the first sort of round, if you will, which is problematic, because according to the scientists, we need to have 80 or 81% population vaccinated in order for us to really get a handle on this pandemic, and that's even not knowing how long the somebody might be immune after being vaccinated. Is it going to be like the flu shot that you have to get every year, or is there going to be a need to get it even more frequently than that? These are things that we just don't know. So we'll spend a little time, I think, in some future session, bringing some people in that are far more expert than I on how we as an organization maybe can begin to help our families and staff and our clients think about what a vaccine really means, and how can we prepare our communities so that whatever happens in the rest of the country, that maybe we can here at NuPath get to 81%. But you're going to have to get it, Dan. So.
Yeah, well, that's a discussion for another day. So as I've done with many of the things we're going through right now, is stick with the here and now. And one thing I felt like, at least in my conversations with some of the directors and managers, and in some of my conversation with family members, we're not here when we've reached out to see if people are going to return, or we've reached out to see what their comfort level is of returning, and so much turns into a conversation about what's next, or how long is this going to go, or when's there's going to be a vaccine, and you have people on different sides, some people not wanting to return to there's a vaccine, some people saying I don't want to return this initial round, some people wanting different services, all of those things. And we heard from a couple of families and other residential providers, well, we're not going to have them return right now because things are going fine at the house, or things have been quiet in their residential program, and so we're not going to have them return right now. And really, we're not here to convince you either way. We do know, sometimes giving some other other reminders that other families have gone through, or some other things we've seen people done helps families sway them either way. But at no point do we want to convince someone on one direction or another, because I think we can talk ourselves into what the best case scenario is. This so-and-so has had no behaviors at home, so we're just gonna stay put with this plan right now. But we also know that the more time passes and the less demands placed on people, that that we're gonna, and then when we transition out of that at some point, that transition out is gonna be much tougher. You know what I mean? And in the mental health,
Yeah.
The experts have talked about the mental health tolls that this takes on people, and all of that. And so, everyone, I guess my main point is that, the staff that are reaching out to you are not convincing you one way or another. They're just trying to give you the information that they have, and try to help you come to a decision that, that you can change if things change in your perspective or mind, but, get you to a point to where you can make a good educated decision together, and give you the information we know. Because I do think, we're a product of, we said it before, the demands placed on us throughout our life, or the expectations. And so, if we allow that to not, people to not have those expectations while they're at home for this long a period of time, I do think that transitioning out of that might be more difficult later. But I also know that, the risk of the catching the virus is more of a concern to people.
Mm-hmm. Dan, you and I worked together a very long time now, and we've seen quite a lot during our years doing this and running this great organization. And I remember over the years having this thing with you where I'd say, what would be your worst experience of anything that we've been through together? And we had a list of terrible experiences. One of them, you remember, you probably know because we've been over this, but moving when that year that we were trying to move from Sylvan Road over to 300 West Cummings Park. And in that case, it involved not having the license to have people come, and it was just major, and just sick thinking about it. And because of your perseverance, we were able to get that license from somebody. You called, it was Ken, what was his last name?
Ken Smith.
Ken Smith. And you called him on his cell phone on a Saturday. He took your call. So we averted that. The other one was the chickenpox scare they had. And I think I may have even mentioned in one of these forums, which it almost seems kind of quaint now, but we were risking, there'd been a couple of incidents of people that had chickenpox, and we had, maybe less than just a few days to prove whether or not, everybody that was coming, staff and clients, had either been immunized or had the antibodies to show that they'd had it before. Otherwise, we were going to be closed for 2 weeks. And the thought of that, I remember, we just thought, what would we do? Shut down 2 weeks without revenue. We thought it would just kill us. Did you remember? I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And this has, this makes all else pale by comparison as far as a challenge that has been foisted upon us and our teams and our families and the people, the clients that attend, that are supported through us and by us, and feeling like we're just scattered to the winds so much of the time. But we're taking this, you said, a day at a time. I mean, we are doing that. We're doing things now that we never thought we could before. We have systems in place that didn't exist 4 months ago, and I think that in so many ways we are going to emerge from this a better organization, probably much more, more refined when it comes to the virtual meeting space and our abilities to really customize so many learning environments in different sorts of ways. But it's definitely going to be one for. I think this will be the winner now from now on. Don't you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think this will be the winner, and we'll have to change the list from the top 3 to the top 5, because this will win hands down. But let me ask you, before this, prior to this, what would have been number 3? What would have closed out the top 3 for you? Because that's where the debate typically comes in. 1 and 2 are easy.
1 and 2 were easy. What if I can't say the other one?
I'll take you off the spot.
Sure.
It's the Democratic National Convention.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah.
because I consider this, you know, and I reference this with some of the other people that have worked with me for many years, and we all were in that together. You know, we did so much planning for that Democratic National Convention.
That was the year, for those that people may not remember, that was 2004.
Four, I believe.
Four. Greg probably knows, so he'll yell it out.
Yes,
But
it was 4.
yeah. It was 2004. It was when the Democratic National Convention was here in Boston, and there was the threat that 93 was going to be closed down. There wasn't going to be any way to move around, and people were going to be stuck because these motorcades are going to be going through, none of which proved to be, you know, really true in the end. But we had people scattered all over. I remember working at the senior center in Medford with a group of people, you know. But
yeah, so we had to open 15 satellite sites from Salem, Mass to I think it was Littleton, Massachusetts. We've bunch of satellite sites, and so, you know, certainly the planning that went into that, you know, again, it was all not needed to the extent it was needed, and we certainly, you know, morphed that or dwarfed that with the planning we've done for the return here. But we think, you know, so we think we are prepared to keep everyone safe, you know.
Hey, Greg, are there any questions that you think that we could answer that we haven't touched on during our time?
Yeah, just one quick one maybe, and this is the question came in: if your child doesn't talk and typically use a communication book, how is this going to be done moving forward between home and day hab?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great question. It's actually, that's something that Easter Seals, I think, brought up today on a call that we had with the concern for the people that are visually impaired or hearing impaired. And so, you know, I think I can't answer that in a broad brushstroke because I think it depends on the individual.
How about navigating life, Dan?
Yeah.
Do it the right way. Right? If a family doesn't have navigating life, then they need to get it, unless it's not something that we're using. I guess maybe not always.
No, I mean, I certainly got to tell you, at least from the families I've spoken to and the feedback I've gotten, that especially for those individuals that have lived in our residential homes, that navigating life has allowed them to have pictures and glimpses into daily routines that they never would have had on a normal basis, which, you know, with them not being able to get into the homes would have, you know, really had a toll on them. And so for them, that ability to get pictures and communicate easily and all that with their sons and daughters, navigating life made a huge difference for them. And I think it's going to make a huge difference for these first groups going back and forth, right? Because during the day, you'll have those live pictures and those updates, and it will allow us to do so much better tracking behind the scenes of information that we're going to need, considering there's so many different variables now to what we need to justify billing and do that with. But for the person with the communication book, I think I would work with your director, because I do think it's going to be case by case. I know some people are very independent with their communication book, and I know some other people need a lot of cues to carry that communication book with them and assistance opening it. And so I think people are at different levels. But we would just try to adapt and have the person's plan reviewed if needed to try to work through what is needed right at this time.
Well, and that's for people that do have access to navigating life. That's the kind of makes communication books unnecessary, doesn't it? Because you know, to some degree, you can message people and you know, you can. Yeah, I guess why I said more, you know, answering it on a more individual basis is because I'm assuming the communication book was someone in Dayhab who used the communication pictures and right.
You know,
right.
They didn't have an iPad of some sort.
So this is just writing notes saying so-and-so had a good day, have a good weekend. It's not that.
Yeah, or pictures for things that they know, that, you know, to use the bathroom and eating and stuff. Right. But I wasn't completely sure, but that's what I interpreted as. So that's why I think if they work with their director, they will get them certainly in touch with Mary Lou, who's been great. All the consultants have been great, staying in touch with us and you know, troubleshooting things when we've needed them to. And so that's what we would look to do.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, Greg?
That's it. Thanks, guys.
Now, Greg's actually going to be with us possibly on Thursday to begin to kind of fill us in on we are going to have a, I don't know what you call it, a makeover of our online presentation and sort of production. And we've isolated a service or a software that is going to just bring us up a notch in our professionalism, and just hopefully making it a little bit more eye-catching and give it a little bit more punch. So, you know, we are doing pretty good with what we're offering virtually and you know, through the digital medium. But we are always, well, we're never going to be satisfied with where we are. We're going to be always trying to improve. So it's going to be exciting, and it's gonna we're going to start to talk about that, I think, on Thursday, and give everybody a little bit of a kind of a sneak peek at what's to come from our town halls and our Unity forums, and how we're going to continue to enhance experiences for people. So, all right, if you don't have anything else, Dan, I say we.
The only thing I was going to say is, and you might have mentioned this, I just didn't hear it. The videos that you saw clips of, that people saw the clips of the Westwood Movement, those are on. You know, you can pick up those links right from our website. So if people go to the NuPath.org, they'll be able to get those links and see the videos and photos.
Right. And to all of you who are on this virtual town hall, thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for staying involved and connected. You are really the heart and soul of this organization. That goes for families and anybody that is constituting the, you know, close to 100 people that we get tuning in every week. So thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you at our Unity Forum on Thursday. So please be safe out there. Remember to wear your mask, wash your hands, all that stuff, you know. And I just want to remind you all, we've got this, guys. We will get through this together. So we'll see you soon. All right. See you, Dan.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.